As the world accelerates its shift toward cleaner energy, governments across the globe are mandating the inclusion of bioethanol in fuels, ushering in blends ranging from E5 and E10 to higher ethanol options like E20 and even E85 as part of a broader strategy to cut carbon emissions. Even motorsport is joining the push. Starting in 2027, MotoGP will run exclusively on 100% sustainable fuel, signaling a significant turn in both performance and environmental standards. In everyday use, however, E10 fuel has sparked widespread debate. By doubling the ethanol content from E5's 5% to up to 10%, this new standard was marketed as a green upgrade. But it has also raised mechanical concerns, especially among motorcyclists and classic vehicle owners. Now, several years into its adoption, it's time to take a closer look at what E10 fuel really is, whether it's safe to use, what benefits it actually delivers, and whether it lives up to its environmental promise. What is E10 fuel? To understand E10, it helps to break down the terminology. The E stands for ethanol, a form of alcohol typically produced through the fermentation of sugars derived from crops like sugarcane, corn, or wheat. Ethanol is the same type of alcohol found in alcoholic beverages, but when used in fuel, it burns cleaner than fossil-derived petrol. The number that follows E indicates the maximum percentage of ethanol present in the fuel. E5 contains up to 5% ethanol, while E10 contains between 5.5 and 10%. This ethanol is renewable and, in theory, carbon neutral. During its production, the plants used to make ethanol absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. When ethanol burns, it releases that CO2 back into the air, theoretically closing the loop. In contrast, burning fossil fuels releases carbon that has been trapped underground for millions of years, adding new carbon into the atmosphere. It is important to note, however, that just because a fuel is labeled as E10 does not mean it always contains 10% ethanol. It can vary between batches, geographic regions, and even seasons. Most petrol companies adjust their blends depending on climate and supply factors. An E10 blend might only contain 5.5% ethanol, making it very similar to E5 in practice. On the other hand, a true 10% blend represents a much higher ethanol load than some engines were originally designed to handle. In many places, E5 continues to be sold alongside E10 as a protection-grade fuel, often under names like super unleaded. This grade is typically available at larger petrol stations or in areas with older vehicle populations. In more remote locations where storage capacity is limited, exemptions may still allow the sale of the older 95-octane E5 blend. What are the risks associated with E10? Despite the environmental benefits touted by governments, the transition to E10 has raised mechanical concerns, particularly among motorcycle owners. Unlike modern cars, which have generally been built to tolerate ethanol blends since around 2011, many motorcycles have older engines, fuel systems, and components that were not designed with ethanol in mind. There are three main technical challenges with E10 fuel. First, ethanol is a strong solvent. It can degrade certain rubbers and plastics, especially older hoses, gaskets, and seals not designed for ethanol exposure. Even in compatible systems, ethanol can loosen rust, dirt, and corrosion in the fuel system. These dislodged particles can then clog fuel filters, carburetor jets, or fuel injectors. Second, ethanol is hygroscopic. This means it actively absorbs moisture from the air. For vehicles that are driven regularly, this is less of a concern. But motorcycles that are stored for months, especially over winter, face a higher risk of fuel degradation. Over time, the absorbed water can lead to phase separation, where ethanol and water settle at the bottom of the tank while petrol floats on top. This not only causes corrosion in metal components, but can also make the engine difficult to start, or cause it to run poorly. Ethanol also becomes acidic as it ages, potentially damaging metals like aluminum, brass, copper, and zinc. Third, ethanol affects the air-fuel ratio. Because it contains oxygen, ethanol-boosted fuel runs leaner than pure petrol. In older carbureted engines, this can lead to rough idling, overheating, or even engine damage. Modern fuel-injected engines often have sensors that automatically adjust the fuel mixture, but older systems do not have this capability. Many motorcyclists and mechanics now recommend switching to E5 Super Unleaded for better long-term reliability. For storage, using fuel stabilizers or additives can help preserve fuel quality and reduce the risk of corrosion. Has E10 delivered environmental benefits? The core argument for introducing E10 is environmental. By increasing the proportion of renewable fuel in the mix, the goal is to reduce the carbon footprint of the transportation sector. Initial government estimates suggested that E10s would reduce CO2 emissions from petrol vehicles by about 2%. Combined with other renewable fuel strategies, projections claimed that transport-related CO2 emissions could drop by 750,000 tons per year, which was likened to removing 350,000 cars from the road. However, the reality is less clear-cut. Data shows that petrol consumption is rising again, partly due to a shift away from diesel vehicles. In the early 1990s, petrol consumption in countries like the UK stood at over 30 billion liters per year. Diesel was a much smaller share of the market. By 2016, the tables had turned. Diesel hit the 30 billion liter mark while petrol dropped to 17 billion liters. But by 2024, petrol was climbing again while diesel was declining. Despite these shifts, total fuel consumption, petrol and diesel combined, has remained relatively steady thanks to improved fuel efficiency. Yet CO2 emissions from road transport have not fallen significantly. In 1990, emissions were approximately 110.8 million tons. In 2022, they stood at 100.7 million tons. This minor reduction occurred despite over 3 decades of technological advancement. The reason is simple: people are driving more. Total vehicle mileage has risen from 255 billion miles in 1990 to 323 billion in 2022. In 2019, before the pandemic, it reached 338 billion miles, with emissions almost identical to 1990 levels. Ethanol does release less CO2 when burned and has a renewable profile. But given that E10 contains only 5% more ethanol than E5, the real-world CO2 benefit per liter is roughly 3.25% at best. Since ethanol is also less energy-dense than petrol, vehicles may burn more of it to travel the same distance, reducing or even negating the benefit. From a tax perspective, this has raised some eyebrows. A slight drop in fuel economy means people are buying more fuel. At 52.95 pence per liter in fuel duty, a 1% increase in consumption adds up quickly. In 2022, over 17 billion liters of petrol were sold. If fuel economy drops by just 1%, that results in 170 million extra liters sold, generating nearly 9 million pounds in additional tax. At 2%, the figure doubles. Add VAT, and the government's revenue increases substantially. Are riders actually facing problems? Many riders have indeed reported issues. While some can be attributed to the age of components, mechanics suggest that modern fuel is making things worse. Mark Bruin of BSD Performance shared his first-hand experience. E10 is destroying carbs. It's furring the needles up, blocking jets, eating rubbers. On injected bikes, especially early models, we're replacing more pumps and injectors. This fuel is horrible. His recommendation is clear. If your bike has a carburetor, stick with E5 and consider fuel additives during storage. Even for fuel-injected bikes, he advises caution. However, it's worth noting that not every case of fuel system trouble is due to E10. Older bikes naturally experience wear and tear. Separating age-related issues from fuel-induced damage can be difficult. What if you use E10 in a non-compatible bike? Accidentally filling your tank with E10 is not the end of the world. Unlike diesel, which can cause immediate and severe problems in a petrol engine, E10 will still run. Most issues arise over the long term. If you must use E10 in an older or incompatible vehicle, the best practice is to use only what you need, then dilute it with E5 Super Unleaded at the next opportunity. How to know if your bike is E10 compatible. Most motorcycles built in the last 10 years are safe to run on E10, and many older bikes are too. Manufacturers have been preparing for this change for decades, particularly in markets like Brazil, where E25 is standard. To confirm compatibility, check your owner's manual, the label near the fuel cap, or consult the manufacturer. Online databases such as e10check.nl and government resources can also help, although they may not cover every model. If in doubt, it is always safest to ask your dealer or stick with E5. Can E10 be used in two-stroke engines? Yes, but with caution. Two-stroke engines are especially vulnerable due to their age and design. Most two-strokes are carbureted and lack the ability to adjust air-fuel mixtures automatically. Running too lean can be dangerous in a two-stroke, increasing the risk of overheating or seizure. If you ride a two-stroke, especially a vintage model, the safest route is to use E5 Super Unleaded. While it may cost a bit more, it helps protect your engine and preserve performance. So, what do you think about E10 fuel? Is it the right step forward, or just another compromise dressed up as progress? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your take. If you enjoyed this video and want to dive deeper into the history and evolution of legendary motorcycles, from vintage Hondas to cutting-edge hyperbikes, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to SK for more exciting content. Ride safe, dream big, and stay tuned for our next story. Goodbye.